everybody, I'm MintApocalypse, and today I wanted to talk about budget cosplays, because I myself am typically a budget cosplayer, and a lot of you commented on my videos asking me things about where I got my cosplays and stuff, and I just thought this would be a good way to talk about it. So I'm gonna break it down by sections. The first thing we're gonna talk about is clothing. The cheapest way to get cosplay clothes is to go to the thrift store or your own closet. The first cosplay I ever did was Canada from Hitalia. The reason I chose to cosplay Canada was because I already had a coat that looked exactly like his. The downsides to that was I wore a parka to my first ever convention and it was super hot. So you go to your closet, you can't find anything for the character that you want to be or a character that you like, no worries. The next thing you want to do is go thrift shopping. If you've never been thrift shopping before or you don't know what I'm talking about those stores where a lot of people donate their old things and then that store takes those old things and resells them to people. It's discounted, it's cheap, you can usually find what you need. Sometimes it takes a lot of going back and checking the same place a bunch of times, going to a lot of different places, but in general, you'll end up finding something, at least in my experience. Thrift shopping is definitely a cheaper alternative, but don't get me wrong, it's still a bit time consuming. But if you're not willing to put in time to look for things for your cosplay, that's okay. You might want to look into a simpler cosplay or a closet cosplay of the character that you want to do. So once you get to the thrift store, what do you do now? The first thing you're going to want to do is guess which section you think you'll find the right thing in, and go there first. You might not find anything related to what you were looking for there, but it's always a good place to start. Once that fails, start combing through aisles. Go through all of the clothing aisles. It doesn't matter if they're gendered, it doesn't matter if you're looking for some t-shirt and you're looking in the jacket section. You never know what you're gonna find. You might end up finding a amazing treasure for a separate cosplay. You might find exactly what you want that had been put in the wrong section. You just gotta keep looking. Now, while you're in that thrift store, don't stop at the clothing section. The next thing you want to do is look for shoes. Make sure you get your proper size. This is incredibly important. As somebody who has worn shoes that are too big for them, and probably also shoes that are too small for them for cosplay, it's not worth it. You really want to find something as close to your size as possible, even if you end up having to modify it. Be careful if you spray paint shoes. It does not always work how you think, and you will chip paint all over the convention. Basically, every time I go to a thrift store, I look in the shoe section, and if I see something kind of weird that I feel like could really be used for cosplay, I will heavily consider buying it, even if I'm not currently working on that cosplay. And that is because shoes are probably the hardest thing to thrift. Honestly, clothing and shoes are the most important things to find for your cosplay, because that is your base. So once you have your base, you need to start thinking about accessories. You could go to a con without them and people probably wouldn't notice, but having them will make you more recognizable. So for example, on my Canada cosplay, I have the brown straps that go across my body. Those were just made with ribbon from Walmart. Sometimes you're gonna have to break down and end up making parts of your cosplay, and that's where the kind of modifying thing comes in to the thrifted, because even if I'm making something from scratch, for example, my Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon cosplay, I made the brown fur vest from scratch, but I did make that because it was unlikely at the time of year that I was searching that I was gonna find a fur vest exactly the way I wanted it. If you're getting a little concerned about the, oh no, I'm never gonna find this particular thing, but I can't sew, don't panic. The seamstress of the world are probably not going to appreciate me saying this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. There are other ways. For example, hot glue. Disclaimer with hot glue, it does melt, so if you're super hot or at a 100 degrees convention, you might melt the glue off of your cosplay. But I'm just saying, technically you could. If you want it to be sewn because you think it looks nicer, or you wanna have a more professional thing, or you're afraid of like the hot glue melting off. If you can't sew, you probably know a friend or a family member that can. Maybe you can give them a little bit of money and the materials and they'll make it for you. Don't fear though, you might end up finding an accessory at a thrift store that ends up working perfectly. My Canada gloves, I'm pretty sure I got at a garage sale. I actually have 2 pairs, and I think they were both from a garage sale. This next thing is kind of an optional thing for cosplay, but you know what? I thought I'd throw it out there. Props. Now, not every cosplay has a prop, not every cosplayer wants to have a prop. They're uncomfortable to carry around. You have to figure out a way to transport to the convention without snapping it in half. But props are my absolute favorite part of cosplay, so of course I'm going to include it in this video. I'm going to do a longer video explaining how I made each one of my props, so that one, if people want to make them, they can, you know, use my tutorial as kind of like how to make this thing. But I just want to say, if you want to make a prop, what you really need to do is look at it and think, what's the simplest way I could make this? Because you would be really surprised. Let's just say one of my props just has a chip clip in it to make part of the shape. A chip clip and a dowel rod. The last thing I want to talk about is wigs. Because in my opinion, for at least my cosplays where I live, I can't really get cheap wigs. Because if I go to Walmart, if I go to Party City, these wigs don't look good enough for me. Now, obviously, if you don't have a lot of money and you're like, I need a wig for this cosplay, you can use those places, okay? You know, nobody should tell you not to use a Party City wig if a Party City wig is all you can afford. It's okay. It's really okay. But in my opinion, in my thing, I just don't like the way that they look. They're cheap. The wig fibers are impossible to style, in my opinion. And you know, maybe there's an expert out there in styling Party City wigs. I mean, totally cool. But this is sort of a cautionary tale for me personally, because my first ever wig was a Walmart wig. It was the cheap, like Party City-esque style. It's exactly what you think of it. When I bought this wig, it was basically a floor-length wig. And I took scissors and I just kind of chopped it off at about the length that I wanted, and it didn't look great, and it was kind of uncomfortable to wear. Definitely my most uncomfortable wig, I think. Personally, I'm just not a huge fan. The other wig that I bought for Canada was about roughly $25 to $30. I don't know what the shipping was, from a kind of sketchy cosplay website, because at the time I didn't know how to style wigs. As a fresh new cosplayer, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just going to say, if you have a little bit of money and you want to know what's the one thing you should invest in to make your cosplay look good, in my opinion, it's the wig. Whether you're cosplaying for Halloween, in your free time, at a convention, in your closet, I don't care, wherever you want to cosplay, just cosplay. Roll with it. Doesn't matter. You want to go to McDonald's? I've been to McDonald's in cosplay multiple times. I don't know why that's my go-to. You just kind of have to do it, and you have to have fun. Everybody starts somewhere. Your first cosplay is not gonna look good in like 10 years. That's another beauty of cosplay. Each cosplay brings you a new skill. I wanted to make a quick little note about Homestuck, because Hive Swap just came out. I have not seen anything about it. But I know there's going to be new people painting themselves gray at conventions. Always seal your makeup, because if you get gray on other people or their cosplays, they're going to be very salty. I think that's really everything that I wanted to cover. Play the characters you want to play in the best costume that you can currently afford. If you have any other cosplay questions you want to ask me, you can just throw them down into the comments below. Also, hit the subscribe button. You can hit the notification bell too if you want to know when I make new videos. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!